Hey, good to see everybody. A couple updates from yesterday. Anthony Walker has a knee injury, won't require surgery. He'll be out. And then Sheldrick Redwine has an ankle injury, won't require surgery. He will also be out. Looking forward to practice today. As you guys know, the pads are coming on, so should be a spirited practice. We'll be in the red zone also, so get some good work down there as well.
Do you have any kind of timetable for Walker in terms of a return?
I think we'll see. I mean, it's a week plus, but we'll see. I can't put an exact time frame on it.
Like non-contact.
Yeah.
What are your plans for JOK today? Will he wear pads or just kind of observe?
He'll do individual period, but outside of that, we'll be smart there.
Anthony Schwartz was on the side yesterday. Is that anything? Or?
Just normal individual practice plan stuff with each one of the guys.
Kevin, day one of pads, do you have to remind everybody that this is day one of pads and let's not...
I've reminded them, yes, and I'll remind them again.
Kevin, some coaches enjoy, I don't want to say they encourage fights, but it doesn't bother them because that's spirited and they're for it. Do you have a no-fight policy, or have you talked to the team about that?
I think, yeah, I mean, we talk about it. It's football, it's emotional, but at the end of the day, you have to be smart. If you do that in the game, you're going to get thrown out. So I think the guys understand that we need to practice hard, but we also have to take care of each other. So we've talked about it, and then we're just going to have to do it.
Hey Kevin, this is your second year with Rashard Higgins. So what have you seen him develop during that time, and if so,
Yeah, I think he's doing a nice job, Jeff. We're moving him around the formation, challenging him a little bit to play some other positions. When I got here last year, he made a bunch of plays in practice, and then, he had to wait for his opportunities last season. And while he was waiting, he was busting his butt on special teams or the look team or whatever. So he's really a guy that's done everything that's been asked of him. He got rolled his ankle the other day, still practiced, pushed through it. So I think it's a great example to some of those young players, not just young receivers, just the young players, how you need to push through and grind when you get into training camp.
When I talked to Baker last week, he talked about how excited he is that more of camp will be able to be focused on situational football, third downs, red zones, those critical opportunities that come up in games. So, from your perspective as coach, is that something you're going to spend a ton of time in camp on because you're not isn't installing like you were a year ago?
Daryl, I'd tell you we're doing it similar to last year in terms of hitting all of those situations. We spend a lot of time talking about them in the meeting rooms, out on the practice field, and we talk a lot about shared situational awareness. It doesn't matter what I know or what Baker knows. We really have to all know it together because that affects our decision making throughout these games. So we did fourth downs yesterday. We did a bunch of third down work. We'll be in the red zone today, 2 minutes coming in later in the week. So we're trying to hit all of it, not all at once, but it's really important because so much of this game so many of these games are decided in those situations.
When it comes to Rashard learning multiple positions and playing multiple positions, is that almost a requirement for guys in this offense to be able to play kind of all over the place at receiver?
I wouldn't call it a requirement, Dan. I think it's helpful when you can line up guys all over, and we're very fortunate to have intelligent players really throughout our skills positions. So I think it's helpful as coaches because oftentimes we'll draw a play up here and be like, all right, how do I get this guy here and this guy here? And you go to the playbook and you look at the formations, and if you can figure out a spot for them that they can go play fast and break the huddle and have confidence in what they're doing. But we do have a bunch of smart guys.
Yes, Jacob Phillips next for some of Walker's reps.
We'll see. Going to work a bunch of guys in. I think that's what Joe and the defensive staff have talked through. Really working a lot of guys in a bunch of different positions. So where you may see someone playing, say, the Mike today, he'll play the Will tomorrow. That's the same with safeties and corners, moving guys around. It's all part of the natural progression as you get started in camp.
Kevin, you talked about the work that Baker's put in the offseason, remaking his body, working on his conditioning. Now that you've seen him for a few days, tangibly, how's that manifesting on the field when you watch him compared to maybe a couple of years ago?
Well, I wasn't here a couple of years ago. I mean,
Well,
I could tell you.
Film on him,
I think. Yeah, I think he's in a good place. I thought, like we talked about, he came in to camp in really good shape last year. Did the same this year. He's he's in a good spot. He's constantly trying to get better. We're adding throughout this camp to this install and adding some nuance to what we're doing, and he's owning it. So he's doing a nice job.
Do you see it like in footwork being quicker? Do you see it in velocity on the ball? Like, are there different ways where it's manifested that you can tell?
So much of what AVP does with those quarterbacks is footwork related. You really work the ground up with the quarterbacks, and I think AVP obviously has an outstanding feel for that and how to teach these guys. So specific to Baker, AVP is always harping on their feet and making sure they're right, and Baker's working those reps hard right now. And so I do think he's getting better.
So the pads give you a better look at the lines of scrimmage now? They'll be hitting.
Yeah, they should, Tony. I mean, I really think even if you don't have the shoulder pads on, like you saw the last couple days, there's a way to practice and take care of each other and not dump a guy on the ground, but still come off the ball with aggression. So I was really pleased the last few days in some of the periods with the run game where guys were fighting off blocks and trying to reach a guy and whatever it may be. And we got a lot of good work done safely. So I think when the pads come on, obviously it may ramp up a bit, but I think the guys understand how we need to work and work safely.
I wanted to ask about two guys on each side of the line of scrimmage, how they're coming along. Big number 70, Sanat, is it? Or
Yeah, Greg Sinat.
How's he doing?
Yeah, Greg's doing a nice job. We had him there for a little bit last year, brought him back this off season. He's working hard. He's got great length. That really shows up in the one-on-one drills and in practice. So he's somebody that really is taking to what Coach Callahan and Coach Peters are bringing him from a technical standpoint. And I've been pleased with how he's coming along.
The other one is the pass rusher, Weaver.
Yeah.
How's he doing?
Curtis is working hard. He's been in there, had some really good one-on-one reps, and then a few that he's, I'm sure, going to work through. So again, with Coach Kiff and Coach Garrett, there's no shortage of time that those guys are spending in the pass rush game. So I would anticipate he keeps getting better.
Kevin, do you have a sense for to what extent Musa Cornmo has been able to keep up with things like the way you guys would hope via the virtual walkthroughs?
Yeah, he's been definitely brought up to speed. Nate, I would tell you it's kind of like last year when we finally got the guys. There's a difference between virtual and doing. So he's similarly going to have a sense of urgency to pick things up, and I think he understands what's at stake and the work that needs to be put into it. So he'll be just fine.
Now, do you have to have like a personalized 5-day on-field acclimation period for him, or can he get into the full go stuff sooner than that?
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I was pretty sure he can go, but I'll get back to you.
Hey, I meant to ask you yesterday, does AVP chant Chubb into your headset?
The fans take care of that for us.
Hey, in terms of Kareem and Nick and kind of the evolution of them together, do you see more of that this year, Kevin, that you're going to be able to use them in different ways or more ways or multiple formations?
Yeah, I think there's really no shortage to what you can do, Tom, with those two players. And then you got to figure out what's the sweet spot and do the things that make sense and make sure they both are playing or you're utilizing them both to their highest potential. So those are conversations that we've had throughout the spring and summer. And we'll see how it evolves. But two competitive guys that push each other.
We got to talk to Kareem just a little while ago about the idea of him and Nick being now under contract for 2 more seasons as a duo. Just how rare is it to have two guys of that caliber, and how much of a luxury is it to have guys who can keep the tread like on each other's tires? So
Yeah, I think it is a luxury to have those two guys. 1A and 1B, and we feel strongly about both of them. They can all do anything that we ask them to do in this offense, and then I think Stump Mitchell does an outstanding job with those guys throughout the week, but especially on game day. Stump has a really good feel for who needs a break, when it's Nick's time to go in there, when it's Kareem's, how to utilize those guys in the best way. I think Stump's really good.
So the idea of like them keeping each other fresh and how that extrapolates beyond one season but multiple. How crucial is like unselfishness with those two guys in that whole
Yeah, that's pretty important. Yeah. With those two guys and their personalities, they are all about winning and they're all about the team. And when you have that from those two players, it makes it easy to one guy's in, one guy's out. Maybe they're both in. It ultimately is it's what's best for the team, and that's what they're about.
Higgins said he watched the loss to Kansas City a bunch of times. Higgins, Rashard.
Yeah.
Said he watched the playoff loss a bunch for motivation. How many times do you think you'd watch that?
Probably more than Rashard. But they're our first opponent, so we've watched a lot of, once that schedule comes out and you see who the first opponent is, that's kind of where the majority of your film watching happens in the spring.
Is it difficult to watch? And would you say, I'm guessing you don't watch it like for motivation. What are you trying to get out of it?
No, yeah, I mean, we're trying to find a way to get a win when that time comes. Is really all it is. The motivation is showing up every day and trying to get better.
So your
Tim, there
heart
was a
doesn't
play.
pound a little faster when you see it?
No, I know the ending.
There was a play yesterday you ran boot and Miles came closed like 15 yards,
Yes, he did.
3 steps. You ever still rewind those a couple times, or are you just used to seeing him do stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have to play him. I told AVP, let's not run that play to the left again.
Hey Kevin, I understand you guys pour your lives into this, so I apologize for the oversimplification here. But at the bones of all this, aside from winning, what do you hope, or better yet, plan on the Cleveland Browns, the 2021 version of yourselves being good at this year?
One more time.
All right. Aside from winning, what do you plan on the 2021 Cleveland Browns being good at this year?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of our sport is it is wins and losses, and that's the frustrating part too, at times. But that's I would tell you one thing that we don't do very much is have that big picture view. We're such a narrow focused group, so ultimately yes, it's about wins and losses. But I can tell you my mind is certainly on this practice field and what's about being in the red zone today, some of the situations that we're going to be in. So I try not to get too far ahead of myself.
Makes sense.
I'm sorry that I didn't have a better answer.
You're good, man. Thank you.
Daryl Hodge is a guy that just seems to show up every day, and I mean, we saw it again yesterday. He made a real nice catch in between a corner and a safety. Just could you touch on his evolution and just his development and how he seems to be carving himself a little bit of
Yeah, really good football player. Last year, similar to, I think we were talking about Donovan yesterday, when his number was called, he was available and made plays for us. Very intelligent, competitive, plays on special teams, doesn't say much, but so another understated guy, but he gives you great reps when he's out here at practice, fights in the run game and the games, and then makes a play on the ball when it's in the air. So, really pleased with where Rashard is, and he fights for everything. Nothing's given to him. He's constantly scratching for everything he can get.